I hope you're doing really well today. I am Michelle Legaly. I'm the creator of the Empaths and Sensitives Facebook group here. I'm so excited to have you here. We're also streaming live on YouTube. So everyone on YouTube, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Every single week, we do some kind of intuitive life coaching training, tool, tip, inspiration, something, either to help you I'm happy to help you as a coach. Or what I really love is that you take these tools, tips, trainings, and you apply them in your own life, and then also to become a coach yourself if that calls to you. If you are here with me live, say hi in the chat. I would love to say hi back to you. I use this thing called StreamYard. If you allow StreamYard to see your name, that's great. If you don't like that, that's okay too. Don't click that button. Hi, Beth. Good to see you. And then somebody else is here. It says Facebook user. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. Okay, let's get started. And Sarah, Teresa, good to see you. Okay, here's what we're doing this week. We are doing the difference between life coaching and intuitive life coaching. And I have right here in the chat about 4 women in the intuitive life coaching program. So you guys chime in as much as you want in the chat. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm on vacation. I'm out of town right now, which is, I want to say, which is why I look like this, but honestly, I always look like this. Hair pulled back, comfy shirt. Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. I'm in Florida right now. Where's everybody else in the world? Do you have cold weather, warm weather? Say hi in the chat and tell me where you're from. That would be awesome. Okay, while you're doing that, let's talk about the difference between life coaching and intuitive life coaching. When I talk today about this, both are really important in my opinion. I'm just sharing with you my experience getting life coaching, getting intuitive coaching, and my experience being a coach and an intuitive coach. Does that make sense? So I'm just sharing my experience. There's lots of awesome things out there other than coaching that have a lot of benefit too. But today we're talking about life coaching, intuitive life coaching, and the difference between them. Okay, you cool with that? And then all my life coaches who are here today, thanks for being here. Please chime in any insight you have. That would be awesome. Okay, here's what I want to start with. I bet many of you have seen this. If I show this to you, is it backwards or is it the right way? Can you read those words or are they backwards? Somebody tell me in the chat. I'll wait for something to pop up in the chat. If it's backwards, I'll just take it down and write and talk about it. Oh, it's right. Okay, good. I'll keep going. Okay, so how many of you have seen this image of this iceberg? And this is me drawing an iceberg. I'm not very good at drawing, but this is the iceberg. And at the tip of the iceberg is the conscious mind. We are told that about 10% is conscious within us. I don't know how to prove that if that's true, but that seems to be a collective conscious belief. So in my opinion, again, this is just me and how I work and how I teach. Life coaching deals with the conscious mind stuff. And I believe in the conscious mind is our thinking, logical thinking, critical thinking, willpower. We all know our willpower is very limited. Decision making and thoughts. Okay? Life coaching is really important and it deals with these things. But it's just the tip of the iceberg. Again, super important to keep coming back to the conscious mind, right? But let's look at intuitive coaching, the power of intuitive coaching. Let's look. Can you guys see this? I'm not good at having here we go. I'm not good at looking at the computer and doing this. We believe that 90%, we are operating 90% subconsciously or even unconsciously. I don't know how much of that is included. This is where intuitive coaching plays a big role, maybe 90%. This is where our beliefs about ourselves, about collectively, what about our beliefs in ourselves, what we're capable of in the world, our place in the world, whether we're victims or creators, like all of our beliefs about ourselves in the world and the people in the world and the status of the world, all of our beliefs are there. Our habits, our habits, our behaviors are driven from our subconscious. Our emotions and our feelings is a subconscious thing. Our values, what is important to us, what is not important to us, our imagination, our intuition, our identity, our self-image, our creativity. Do you see how much is actually in that below conscious space? And this is where intuitive coaching, I think, like outshines life coaching. Again, they're both important, but if we don't do a lot of the work here, our clients don't get a conscious change. So I think it's very important to measure consciously. Like when I have a client, I'll say, what do you hope to accomplish? And I write that down. That's what their conscious mind wants to accomplish. But all of what they wanted to accomplish, the drivers come from here, right? Does that make sense? Oh, somebody said, can you write in bold next time? Yes, I will. If I had a marker with me on vacation, I would have used it. I thought the same thing. And I don't. I just had a pen. Maybe that's a little bit better. Does this make sense? Do you see why we have to tap into people's beliefs, habits, this is where I spend most of my time, emotions and feelings. This is the doorway I like to use because we are empaths. We are sensitive souls. We are naturally wired to feel into this or to help people feel into this. This is our biggest gift, in my opinion. We tap into people's values, their imagination, their intuition. We can tap into our intuition and give them some information. I personally like to help my client tap into their own intuition because we give them the gift of the tool, right? If we just give people the answers, that's one thing. But let's teach people everyone has their own answers. Let's teach them how to get those answers for themselves. Okay, does that make sense? So one of the things that happened to me years ago as I was an intuitive, then I worked in mediumship, hypnotherapy, see all these states of lower subconscious stuff. And as I was exploring all this, I kept, in my own intuition, kept saying, you're going to help people become conscious of the unconscious. You're going to help people become conscious of the unconscious. Back then I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means. I don't understand how I'll do that. But as I look back at my life now that I'm older, I can see that that's been a true theme in my life. And it continues with life coaching and intuitive coaching. So if we have a client that comes to us and says, I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, let's say we have, I don't want to give any information to anybody, or I've had a client before who wanted to make 6 figures in her corporate job. She could not make that happen in her own life. So she hired me as her intuitive life coach. In my world, I believe it's possible for her to make 6 figures in her work. I totally believe that. But I knew that I had to get down here with her and figure out what was in the way of her achieving that. Okay? So the conscious goal was, Michelle, I want to make $100,000 in my corporate job. Once we got down here, she had some beliefs about things like she felt she didn't have enough education. So not enough education equaled I don't deserve $100,000. We excavated the beliefs. We excavated the habits. We excavated the emotions, like the values. We had to do this in order for her to take the actions up here and speak to her boss or whoever she needed to speak to. She hit $100,000 in a corner office. Not that not that long into our working together. It's not because if I would have just said to her, okay, let's be logical. Step one, you have to talk to your boss. Step two, you have to, who knows what the logical thoughts were. I didn't care about the logical thoughts. I went straight to here because I know this is where the change takes place. The intuitive stuff. Now, many people will say to me, but Michelle, do you give them a reading anymore? Do you do that? Are you the intuitive? It is a mix. I do more. I want people to get their own answers. I ask people the right questions, and I want you to do the same things. Life coaching is asking the right questions at the right time. And then intuitive life coaching is, as they're giving you the answers, you can feel into like the truth of that. Like some of that stuff, you're like, oh, there's something to that needs to be addressed. Or sometimes things just feel like on the surface and they don't have a lot of juice or energy or emotion behind them. Does that make sense? That's how I use my intuition, mostly in intuitive life coaching now. Okay, is this helpful? So both are important is what I'm trying to say. And what the difference is, we measure up here, we do critical thinking up here, we look at our thoughts up here, and down here in the intuitive part, we're addressing the beliefs, the emotions, the feelings. We're using our imagination and intuition, our creativity. We're using all those pieces because these are the real drivers that make the change in our reality. Okay. What questions do you have? Does that make sense? Someone just said, also what someone doesn't say. Yeah, I get that. So like when we ask our clients questions, what isn't said could be just as informative as the words they say. So good. You're right. So good. And sometimes I will bring that up in a session if it intuitively feels right and they can handle speaking about the stuff they don't want to talk about. And lots of times, especially if it's a new client, I just allow it to be. I don't want anyone to go somewhere they're not ready to go. Okay. And that's just part of becoming a master coach, right? Is knowing when to ask what. Okay. Is this helpful? What other questions do you have? Any questions? Type them in the chat. Okay, awesome. Any intuitive life coaches in here have any thing you want to add to the chat? That would be great. And if you don't feel like any pressure is on you at all. Also, while we're waiting for some comments in the chat, okay, I'm glad that was helpful. I have, in about 3 weeks, we are doing another 5-day challenge. Let's see if I can, does this show up? Awesome. I have another 5-day challenge coming up. I did one in January. I'm going to do it at the beginning of April. It's called Become a Prosperous Intuitive Life Coach. It begins Monday, April 4th. We meet every day from noon to 12:30. You can sign up for it. Here is the link. What can I tell you about it? My real goal is we empaths and sensitives, we are the healers, the helpers, the light workers. And the way that my passion to help people is through intuitive life coaching. I'm going to show you how I help people, and I'm going to show you my framework for that. But my other passion in life right now is that we do this for a living. I'm really passionate about us making money at this. And some of you are going to be turned off by that. But I just went through a period for so long of helping people and serving. And it was great, but there was something missing inside of me. And I would see my husband and I would see other people in their jobs doing what they loved and making a living out of it. And their sense of fulfillment was much greater than mine as I was helping people randomly. I wanted to feel a sense of fulfillment. That came through me putting my stake in the ground and calling myself an intuitive life coach as a profession and taking myself seriously. And then the world reflected it. They started to take me seriously. When I did it for myself, then it reflected that we do this. This is a profession and we do it for a living and we make a good living at it. Those are the people I really want to help. Okay, so if it turns you off to think about charging for your services, this challenge isn't for you. Or if it turns you off, there might be some inner work for you around that, like a shadow piece. And again, no judgment. I'm just throwing some ideas out because I had it for so long. If it does juice you to think like, is it possible for me to become a coach and make a living out of this? Join me for the 5-day challenge. I'm going to over deliver. We've got 5 days of training, plus we've got like 4 days of bonuses. We're going through everything from how, like the pillars of life, intuitive life coaching, all the way to charging for your services, all the way to how I built my first 6-figure coaching business with one-on-one clients. And now I'm in multiple 6 figures working as an intuitive life coach. If that interests you, click on the link and you can join us. You'll get all the details in an email. And then I think that's it. Let me check to see if there's any questions. No worries. No worries. Paula, good to see you. Trista, Kim. How to deal with family and friends that are not able to understand and support me delving into all this mumbo jumbo. Let's talk about this for a second. How many can relate to this? Like, what will my family and friends think if I'm actually, whatever, let's use an intuitive life coach. What would, if you paid for coaching, what would they think about that? If you charged for your services as a coach, like, what would your family and friends think of that? It is one of the biggest blocks I had and most people have. Okay, let me think about how I did this. Okay, this is funny, but in the beginning, my first passion was intuition. Psychic and intuitive development was my first passion. And I couldn't tell if this is what crazy people do, because I didn't know anybody who was interested in it. So I didn't tell my family and friends at first. I found a group, my first group I found online. The second group I found was in person. And I didn't tell my family and friends. I only told my husband. I said, I want to do this thing. I can't tell if it's real, if I'm crazy, if it's just wishful thinking, but I want to learn about this. And I just told my husband, I said, don't tell anybody. And if you think I'm going crazy, please let me know. And he's like, got it. Go do it. Got it. So I didn't tell family and friends for a long time, except my husband. When I got more solid that intuition is a real thing that we all possess, and it's a real thing that you can develop and create, honestly, I learned to understand myself. I learned how I was wired. I learned like what I was really good at and what I was passionate about. It freaking put me on my life path. Like, everything I do today is because that's where I started. I just started to trust myself and what I was interested in learning. I didn't share it with family and friends at first. When I finally got solid in it and I believed in myself, I heard myself start to say things to family and friends about intuition. And I giggled inside of me because it was starting to be solid inside of me. And it usually comes out of my mouth once it's solid inside of me. So that's how I do it. I don't share it with people when I'm wobbly, I don't share it with people who are going to be wobbly. I just share it with people who will support me. And that's not usually family and friends in the beginning. No offense to family and friends. I have to find like-minded people to support me. I don't want to be sad about that. It's just our family and friends. I don't know. It would be great if family and friends were to support us with anything we want and do in our lives. And many family and friends are, but I didn't have any like that. And again, not their fault. It's just the way we grew up. So I looked to other people to support me. I paid other people. I joined groups that would support what I was interested in doing. Is that helpful? Awesome. Okay, good. I hope that answered your questions. To have the sense of credibility and have that reflected back makes total sense. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, good. Jackie, Kim, Trista, awesome. Thank you for responding to people. We have, interestingly enough, a lot of coaches in my own program, Intuitive Life Coaches, here in talking in the chat today. Please feel free to ask them any questions. Will you get a certificate, and is that important? So in my program, you do get a certificate, I don't think a certificate is important. And doesn't that sound like I'm talking out both sides of my head? Here's what I mean. Getting proper training so that you believe that you are actually creating results with people and helping them transformation, that's important. It's really important that you believe you have the skills to help someone. That does come through training usually, or it has for me. It has for me. That certificate, that piece of paper used to be really important to me. So I would go get a training, I would get the paper, and I would go, okay. And I would think my confidence would come from that. And then I wouldn't do anything with it, with the skills. Then I would go out and get another certificate, another training. I'd get my paper, wouldn't do anything with it. At some point, it hit me that I'm hiding behind getting these certificates. It was scary to actually hang my shingle, put myself out there and go, this is who I am. This is what I do. Is anyone interested in my services? That is so freaking vulnerable to actually put your stake in the ground and potentially feel rejected or ridiculed or whatever. Like, that's the scary piece. Okay, so training and experience and practice are super important. The piece of paper is not important to me anymore. The inner confidence that I want you to have because you've had the training and the practice and the experience and you have the belief in yourself because of the experience, that's the most important thing. That's when you'll be able to put your stake in the ground, tell people who you are, who you serve, and charge for it. Did I go on and on, or was that helpful? The certificate does lend itself to building confidence, but really it comes from practice and taking action. Amen. Whoever said that, Facebook user, amen. It's really true. Here's what I've noticed back, as I get older, I can see where I slowed myself down and where, all that. You get a little smarter as you get older. I was just accumulating knowledge, trying to get confidence from just more knowledge. And I was not putting myself out there to get the experience. So I was just accumulating more knowledge and more certificates, and I was staying out of the experience. When I finally realized that's what I was doing and committed to the experience, I had so much anxiety and fear that I wasn't going to deliver on the promise, that I was going to be a what do you call it? Like imposter, that I was going to hurt people instead of help people. I had so many fears come up when I finally committed to showing up and working with people. I wasn't sure if I could really help them. And that's what stopped me. And that's what stops most people. So the experience is so important. And in my intuitive life coaching program, we do training, but we spend so much time in practice, both in the certification program and the coaching part and in the business building part. We are in action, messy action, messy action. That's really the way you get good at anything. Do you guys agree, intuitive life coaches in here? Messy action is the way. Somebody just said, I'm going to find a stake and put it in the ground. Way to go, girl. Awesome. Somebody just said, I'm going to need the replay. Went over thinking I missed important stuff. Absolutely. The replay is always here in our Facebook group. You'll also find it on my YouTube channel. And if you're on my email list, I send this video out every single Thursday. Awesome. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Any other questions before we go? Again, every single week we come on and do some type of tool, training, tip, inspiration, and I hope it's helpful to you. Either use it for you or use it with your own clients. If you are an intuitive life coach or you're interested in stepping into coaching, use these tools and go help people with it. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.